Welcome to the Four Seasons Hotel at Black Hat 2024 here in balmy 110 degree Las Vegas, Nevada. This segment is sponsored by Semperis, and I am here today talking to Marty Momdjian, who is the general manager for something called Ready One. We're going to learn about what that is today, as well as the EVP of Services for Semperis. Welcome to steamy Las Vegas.
Very hot Las Vegas.
This is very hot. It is oppressively hot here. And we have lots of lights in this room. But as far as you guys are concerned, we are calm, cool, and collected. So, Marty, tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got into cybersecurity.
So, been in cybersecurity healthcare for about 15 years.
Okay.
Mainly, I've been on the hospital side around EMR support, cybersecurity, and very focused on resilience and incident response.
Okay.
So, former CTO and CISO of a healthcare system, chief architect doing EMR implementations. Last 4 or 5 years, mainly focused on true incident response and recovery for healthcare organizations that have ransomware attacks or major cyber events.
Gotcha.
So really my focus area.
I think I'm hearing the answer to my question is why the focus and the interest on hospitals, but it sounds like it's what you grew up in.
That's what I grew up in.
That's what your passion is. And I mean, I'm a consultant by day, and I don't think I've ever actually worked for a hospital, but I've been in them, and I know how they're typically pretty woeful in terms of keeping up with technology and all sorts of arguments about security and security interfering with, actually patient care and things like that. How do you, Semperis, approach hospitals? And of course, you're talking about incidents. It would be nice if we weren't talking about incidents and we were talking about prevention.
Yeah.
But I mean, talk about the problem of hospitals in a nutshell. I mean, you've lived it, and then how is Semperis trying to help?
So problem-wise, in the last 3 to 4 years, have started to evolve, getting a little better with security, working with IT operations, working with finance, working with clinical operations. Healthcare is complex, right? Especially on the provider side, where most organizations really hyper-focused and spent money on the modern EMR in the last 10 years.
Right.
And security was just becoming a byproduct of that, right? We'll put security into place when we need it. I feel like the last 3-4 years, threat actors and adversaries are focusing on healthcare because there was a pretty big uptick and everybody had the thought process of, hey, they're a soft target. They're not as soft as people think, right? They have very complex environments. And really, when we engage with customers, we ask the typical questions of, what is your priority? And it's generally clinical. They have to keep clinical systems online.
Sure.
Clinical systems are extremely complex. Historically, everybody looked at cybersecurity as someone that causes friction, right, to the clinician experience, to the patient experience, and then to business operations and clinical operations. Because of all the ransomware attacks and really the adversaries understanding how healthcare technology works, unfortunately, in the last couple of years, we're seeing a lot of cybersecurity organizations within the healthcare system start to partner with the business and partner with clinicals, and CISOs are now getting a seat at the table, right? They're part of the overall discussions on budget. They're helping the organization understand risk a lot better, and the risk is if we don't, as a healthcare system, spend money the right way, implement the right technology, have the right people, and make sure we understand what the clinical workflows are to support them, things are not going to work as intended. So the organization's starting to listen to the CISO a lot more.
Sure.
Where our focus is identity at Semperis. We're very heavily focused on Active Directory security and recovery, threat detection and response for identity in general. And everybody has Active Directory, especially healthcare in the most complex environments. So
I think about hospitals and healthcare, and I think they're probably a prime example of, which is really an industry problem where we've spent most of the last 30 years focused on confidentiality of data, and that idea of availability is just kind of, well, there's denial of service and distributed denial of service attacks, but the cruel irony was the development of ransomware and malware attacks. And I think hospitals are viewed as a soft target because the bad guys, they forgot the gentleman's code or the honor code of don't go after things that are going to impact people's lives, But also they've taken that and said, well, that's what makes them more likely to pay, and they are a business after all, trying to make money.
And healthcare is in a unique position, unfortunately. We always say, don't ever pay the ransom, right? You're enabling a cyber criminal organization, and you're actually enabling adversaries and threat actors that are state-sponsored.
Right.
And we don't want to ever do that.
Right.
The problem we run into is healthcare data is so valuable. Your patient record, my patient record, it follows us everywhere we go, right? It's not just PI data anymore. That PHI is extremely valuable to threat actors. And now what we're seeing is, unfortunately, anybody under the age of 18, right, children's hospitals and things like that, their record and identity does not change. Their identity follows them for the rest of their life.
Right.
Well, the other unfortunate issue is we've seen healthcare organizations get backed into a corner where they have no choice but to pay the ransom.
Right.
Right. You need to get clinical operations online. If a customer goes on diversion as a healthcare system, right, their trauma center goes offline. They can't take EMS or ambulances anymore.
Right.
What do you do at that point?
Right.
Incident response teams can only do so much because we have to get Active Directory online. We have to get their presentation layer online. There's a lot of work that needs to be done for forensics with third-party legal, their chief legal, our legal team, all the incident response teams involved.
Are you a lawyer?
I'm not.
Okay, just checking.
I don't play one on TV either,
Okay.
so fortunately.
But you do sometimes wear a lab coat.
Once in a while.
Yeah, okay.
Depending on the situation.
Got you.
Like, all this stuff has to happen, right?
Right.
During a major event, what matters is we got to do all this work to get the EMR online because patient flow has to start functioning.
Right.
What do you do when a week goes by and the senior executives are saying, hey, like, I don't care what it takes. I need to get patients in the door at my ED. I need to follow those patients. We got to care for those patients. You have no choice sometimes, right? As much as, we work with investigators and we work with the FBI, negotiators, and this and that, but somebody makes a decision and says, you know what, just pay the ransom if it gives us a chance to come back online. We'll deal with it later. And then the whole data issue behind it becomes a problem to solve later on. So
did you find Semperis, or did Semperis find you?
I found Semperis because I'm a very big fan of the technology. In my previous life, they were my go-to partner when it comes to true identity threat detection and response, specifically just the league of MVPs they have from Microsoft that are hyper-focused on Active Directory recovery,
Okay.
which is, it's a lost art, right?
Right.
It's really hard to find somebody that truly understands Active Directory.
So the primary mission is really just getting everything back online, getting everything.
Get identity secure, get it back online. So.
Okay. So, in the intro it said you're heading up something called Ready One. I have to ask, what is Ready One?
So Ready One is a new platform that's in development, not released yet. It's in beta testing right now. So we're looking at building an end-to-end resiliency and incident response platform that really combines the preparedness, the response, the recovery, and all the integration that needs to happen with legal, third-party incident response, and the composition of preparing and handling an incident, logging an incident, and then reporting that incident itself, and really helping customers self-sustain and self-manage that.
In the hospital industry, is there more times than not IT security staff working for the hospitals, or is there similar or same amounts of reliance on third-party MSP?
It's a mixed. When you look at IT as a general, right? There's cybersecurity IT operations. There's informatics, clinical IT operations. Usually, bigger organizations have in-house IT that really understand the healthcare system and their operations, right? And their cybersecurity and IT fall inside of that. Mid-sized organizations, you have MSPs and MSP support, and there's some great, coverage and support out there. So it's a mixed bag, really. Then the third party, there's outsourcing when it comes to third-party applications and infrastructure for healthcare, which is infinitely more complex because of third-party risk, right?
Right. So is Ready One going to be primarily for hospitals to use with their own staff, or is it going to be kind of whoever can use it?
Mix of both. It's not just healthcare. We're starting with healthcare, but what we want to do is empower organizations. At the end of the day, what I've learned, my past history is, whether it's a cyber event an actual disaster that emergency management and crisis management has to respond to, you still need the people and the technology and the process to work together. One cannot function without the other, and it's overall part of a resilience plan. Our goal is we want to take this product to healthcare and to other industries as well, and say, the plan is in your head, right? In a healthcare system, EMR goes down, clinical operations knows what to do. It may not be documented, but they know what to do. Incident response knows what to do. They know the third party they have to call. They know the forensics that they have to do with third party and legal support. We want to empower them to organize that in a single platform to handle everything end to end, to always make sure they're in a prepared state and bridge that gap, not just for healthcare, but for everybody between incident response, crisis management, and the business continuity and resiliency team, and extend it out to the third parties they need support from.
Gotcha. So I'm curious, with your focus on hospitals, and I understand you want to be everything to everybody ultimately, because you're in it to make money at some point too, which is fair. In my experience, in my day job as a consultant, where I'm working primarily in the PCI world, if you've watched the show, people probably know that about me. The motivation for my clients largely to be secure, I'm generalizing a little bit, but largely doesn't exist unless and until they have to do PCI or they've been breached. Do you find a similar instance in hospital healthcare? And obviously there's HIPAA. HIPAA's been around forever, but in my opinion, HIPAA doesn't really solve all the problems that we're talking about. It doesn't even touch the problems we're talking about. It's a very specific, keep PHI separate from identity. And again, it doesn't even think about, well, what about the availability of the data? Forget that ransomware doesn't care. It's my data. They care that I can't get to my data. What are you seeing in terms of similarities or motivations for hospitals, healthcare organizations to, hopefully you want them to buy your product or buy your service. What gets them there?
My one comment to that would be, it's not just the motivation of selling our products. We want to make the cybersecurity space better and accessible for not just healthcare systems, everybody. So some of the steps we've taken is we have free community-driven products that are out there to anybody in any industry, to any cyber practitioner, Purple Night, which they can take, deploy, see the state of their Active Directory security based off MITRE and indicators of exposure. Right? We've also built a tool that does attack path mapping, which is called Forest Druid. Anybody can go get it. Same thing, they can figure out their vulnerabilities. But that's the technical side, right? When it comes to healthcare in general, to your point, we want to move left of Bing. People focus on, hey, an event happened, now I got to go throw all this money at it to make sure it never happens again. I see the industry shifting where CISOs are talking to each other a lot more. I have a lot of friends and peers that are CISOs of healthcare systems where we text each other. We talk about, hey, what's happening? What are you guys doing? What are you guys seeing? And they're sharing information where they weren't before. Right?
Gotcha. Maybe that's a better way to phrase the question, is what are the motivators other than the historical regulatory compliance and getting religion the hard way, let's say.
Getting religion the hard way is a good way to put it. I mean, it's historically the motivators were, don't let this happen to me, right? People see it on the news, and the senior executives and the board comes in, and I've sat in front of boards explaining, like, okay, you don't want this to happen to you. You're not just going to go buy all these products. There's a lot of work that needs to happen, and that work is to promote the use of the EMR and make sure it's secure, make sure your patient portal is secure, make sure your third parties are secure. The motivation now has really shifted to cybersecurity becoming a pillar within the healthcare system. And we're seeing it in other industries too, where they're part of the budget conversations, right? Now it's the
people are finally figuring out that it's really got to be part of the whole equation. It's not a bolt-on afterthought, pay as little as possible to get the checkbox type of approach.
And CISOs are now motivated because they're taking a big risk. Nobody wakes up and wants to be CISO anymore, right? I don't. And where they're motivated now to do better than they ever have before, and their motivation is, I need a seat at the table as a senior executive in front of the board if you want me to secure and protect the healthcare system. It's not just about money and people. Now I got to understand the healthcare business operations. Right? Now they're motivated, if they're going to take on that risk, to actually push the message of, let me be more integrated into the
Right.
healthcare organization.
Well, unfortunately, our time is up, but I appreciate you sharing a little bit about the Semperis vision and your vision this morning, today. For more information, you want to learn more about Semperis, you go to securityweekly.com/Semperis. That's Semperis with a BH for Black Hat at the end. That's going to wrap us today. Thanks.